Hey folks, how you doing? This is the Wayne S. Pierce Show podcast, no encores. I had to take a few days just to step away for a minute, so I put up some encores of some shows, if I can say that word correctly. Anyway, hey, welcome. Wayne S. Pierce Show podcast right here on the American Liberty Radio Network on the 19th of June, 2015. Dylan Roof. Yeah, he's the 22-year-old, I guess he's 22, walked into a church in South Carolina, killed 9 people. Now everybody's blaming the gun. How about blaming the drugs this kid was on? Probably. Do I have proof of that? Oh, yeah, there's a ton out there in the last 24 hours coming out proving that this kid was on psychotropic drugs. Yeah. Don't like that? You know, how can a kid, 22 years old, be so racist? Okay? How can they? Okay. Now, here at Infowars.com, not here, but I'm going to the website, Infowars.com, Dylan Roof could not legally carry a firearm. Quote, in order for laws to work, criminals must follow them, unquote. So when I get back from the break, I'll get into that little article. But the bottom line is, he said he was racist. I mean, he said he wanted to start a race war. He wasn't able to carry a gun. We'll go into that article when I get back. But bottom line is, folks, you've got the leftist liberals. I mean, I'm talking Marxist leftist liberals saying that the problem was the gun. You're getting some moderate people, still leftist, but saying that there was a patch on his jacket, and they're focusing on that. In other words, they're taking you completely away from the fact that this kid, well, I'll get into the article, we'll talk about it. But the fact of the matter is that this discussion came up before, a couple of years ago. James Holmes, for one, Aurora, Colorado movie theater shooting. That came out too, and there's evidence beyond evidence showing that there were other people involved. Okay? So why doesn't the mainstream news, the state-run media, talk about that? It's because they don't want to. They don't want to because they don't want their little world shattered to a billion pieces, because their narrative that they're sensationalizing has been blown to bits. They don't want to tell the truth. They don't want to give you the facts. They don't want to do anything other than sensationalize a tragedy for the purposes of complete and utter control. Okay? You tell the story. Somebody behind that story comes in and says, yes, that's true. Other people come in and say, we've got to do this to take care of this. And now, folks, the bottom line is they want to take your guns. Period. South Carolina is not going to allow that at all. Ever. Okay. Talk to Michael Farah over at Late Night in the Midlands. He'll tell you. I'll be back right after this. AmericanLibertyRadio.com is the website. AmericanLibertyRadio@USA.com is the email address.
The Grand Adventure.
Yeah.
From the directorial debut of Brian James Griffo, two brothers faced with a rare genetic disease that causes blindness decide to take a journey of a lifetime and answer the question, what would you see if you knew you were going to go blind?
It honestly makes me feel so small and like whatever problems I have are nothing.
What would you do?
You're supposed to smell it first.
Who would you meet?
This is an opportunity for us to connect with people.
Oh, I can see you.
In a groundbreaking documentary that cuts to the heart of what it means to be a brother.
It blows my mind that 100 years ago, this is how people would have done this trip that we're doing. Yep.
And gain a world of vision while losing eyesight. Come along to be inspired and reminded of the very meaning of life through a 12,000-mile road trip. Driving Blind. Coming soon.
Coming to America.
When the coffee is done, sit down and have a cup and listen to the best independent music station on the web. Radio Rock 92.6 The Blitz. Tom Slick delivers all the independent hits and talks about new music from all of your favorite artists. Listen to Tom Slick on The Morning Brew, 9 a.m. Pacific, 12 noon Eastern, only on Radio Rock 92.6 The Blitz. For more information, go to radiorocktheblitz.blogspot.com. Hey folks, how you doing? This is the Wayne S. Pierce Show right here for the 19th of June 2015. It's Friday, and in some parts of the world, it's Saturday. You guys have a great day over in the other side of the world. Yes, this show gets heard worldwide. Yes. So, let's get into this shooting in South Carolina. This is a long segment, so I got time to get into it a little bit. Let's get into this. I want to preface this by saying that we all have a perspective on various issues. We all have different perspectives on various issues. We don't hold true to one thing. We seem to look at things a little bit differently sometimes. You can get 10 people in a room and have 10 different perspectives. We understand this. Some of us will not even change our minds. Some of us will look at different, information that is out there and say, wait a minute, a couple of months ago I thought this. Well, now with new information presented, I may have to change the way I look at things. You see what I mean? So we don't hold to one particular thing, but some people will say, well, it's like this. They know what else is out there. They see the rest of the information, the new information, but they're not going to change. But they see the rest of the information. So we have a particular perspective on things. And it's how we individually see it. We try to convince the collective that that they should see it as well. I don't. I say take the information I give you as well as others and piece it together for your own understanding of it. Don't believe me. Go out and check this stuff out yourself. Truth Revolt, Sarah Dogan, contributed an article to Infowars.com. Dylan Roof could not legally carry a firearm, quote unquote. In order for laws to work, criminals must follow them, unquote. Boy, echoes like the mentality of Nancy Pelosi, doesn't it? Oh, boy. I am drinking coffee, folks. Gotta have my coffee. Speaking of coffee, go listen to The Morning Brew with Tom Slick at Radio Rock 92.6 The Blitz on Spreaker.com and elsewhere. And check out all the independent music hits that you can listen to right there at Radio Rock 92.6 The Blitz with the Morning Brew and Tom Slick. Tell him American Liberty Radio Network, Wayne Pierce, sent you. Yeah, there you go. Truth Revolt contributed this. Sarah Dugan posted today. Many in the media and political spheres, including President Barack Obama, have used Wednesday's tragic mass shooting at Emmanuel AME Church in South Carolina to push for further restrictions on gun ownership. See, they want to come after your guns, folks, period. End of sentence, done. But they're not going to tell you what caused all this. Whoa, wait a minute. Hold on just a second. But radio host and Second Amendment warrior Dana Loesch, L-O-E-S-C-H. Is it Dana Lash? Is that what it is? Has revealed that under current South Carolina law, shooter Dylan Roof was already ineligible to purchase or carry a firearm due to previous felony conviction and would have failed a background check. Dana reports on her website that Roof was charged with felony possession in February of 2015. According to South Carolina court documents exclusively obtained by Radar, Roof 21 was arrested in Lexington County on felony charges of possession of cocaine, methamphetamine, and LSD on Friday, February 28, 2015. This alone disqualified him from legal carry and purchase of a firearm. In South Carolina, you only have to be charged with a felony to lose your Second Amendment right. Roof would have failed a background check to purchase a firearm. So how did Roof obtain a gun used in the mass homicide at the church? Not legally, Lash notes. It was reported that his father purchased him a handgun on his 21st birthday. Roof's birthday is listed as April 4th, 1994. His 21st birthday was last April, 2 months after he's charged with a felony. His father buys him a gun. This means if his father purchased a gun for his birthday, it was a straw purchase, a felony, punishable by up to 10 years in jail and a $250,000 fine. As Loesch includes in an addendum to her report, Jim Hoft is reporting in the Gateway Pundit that Roof stole the firearm used in the church shooting from his mother. She adds, either way, he stole a firearm, another felony charge. Loesch concludes, in order for the laws to work, criminals must follow them. I'm going to point something out that I think is glaringly obvious. Criminals don't follow laws. What? Criminals don't give a rip about laws. So if this 21-year-old was charged with a felony of possession, that excludes him from any purchase of any firearm for his protection. Well, let's go here, folks, shall we? Back to Infowars.com. The thing that really stands out in all of this is the fact that people will believe practically anything coming out of the state-run media, funded by the likes of George Soros and Media Matters. Infowars.com, Charleston church shooting, the larger covert op. Police report the suspect in the Charleston church shooting, Dylan Roof, has been captured. Quote, long-term covert ops sometimes disguise themselves as claiming that the hidden cause of a problem is the cure. So it is with the psychiatric drugs like SSRI antidepressants which push people into committing murder. In the aftermath of these killings, leaders call for expanded psychiatric screening, which will result in further prescription of those very same drugs. The Underground, John Rappaport. Police report the suspect in the Charleston church shooting, Dylan Roof, has been captured. This is the latest in the string of crimes in which black-white conflict has been highlighted, pressed, argued, and used for the purpose of fanning flames of racial discord, exercising further gun control, and fatuously claiming that universal psychiatric screening and drugging is the answer. In this brief article, I focus on black-white conflict. This was written by John Rappaport, contributing to the Infowars.com. In the 1960s in America, the burgeoning drug culture in the Vietnam War became the occasion for protests and riots that shook the nation. In that case, the main target was the federal government. Even though the quote-unquote revolution was pro-left, the 1968 Chicago riots were staged at the Democratic nominating convention. That gives you some idea of the degree of overall and virulent anti-government sentiment. From the point of view of elite planners, the 1960s should have been repeated, at least should not have been repeated, at least not in the same way. This time, the government should be seen as the hero, the rescuer, the mediator. For that to happen, Americans would turn on and target each other. There is no better way to accomplish that than to strike at the issue of race. Emphasize it, push it, make it stand out, tie it into political correctness, create absurdist dialogue that could have no other outcome than outrage. The discussion about race has turned into transparent provocation. Divide and conquer is as old as the hills. The conqueror is the ruler, and of course, as he wins, he enacts more downward pressure on freedom in multiple ways while pretending to be the healer. This is the op. This is the simplicity of it. You can throw other logs on the fire. Agents provocateur in the media, the release of violent immigrant criminals from U.S. prisons, the seeding of population with massive amounts of psychiatric drugs, SSRI antidepressants that scramble brains and push people over the edge into committing violent acts, including murder. And, oh yes, you could also include the intentional expansion of poverty and attendant resentment through the departure of millions of jobs overseas, aka globalism, that is provocation of the higher order. The objective is shifting the target from government to the people themselves along the familiar lines of race. And the payoff message will echo the sentiments of 1995 after the Oklahoma City bombing. Quote, "Come home to the government. We will protect you. Only we can protect you," unquote. If you believed mainstream media, you would think the entire race issue in America consists of a three-way conversation between Al Sharpton, a KKK high priest, and some demented college student who insists that every word in the English language contains a hidden racial element. Update. CBS News is reporting that Dylan Roof was arrested on February 28th in a mall while he was asking a store clerk out of the ordinary questions. At that time, he was found in possession of a medicine called Suboxone. I'll spell it out for you. You try to pronounce it. Suboxone. Suboxone. or something. It is an addicting drug used to treat opiate addiction. Some adverse effects: agitation, hostility, hallucinations, attempted suicide, depersonalization, whatever the hell that means, rapid withdrawal from Suboxone, I don't know, you figure it out, can be more dangerous than taking it. Getting the picture? Of course, the distinct possibility that the drug pushed Dylann Roof over the edge into committing murder isn't part of the quote-unquote correct narrative aimed at accelerating racial hatreds. The truth? Irrelevant. I'm putting that on the American Liberty Radio Network Facebook page because it is relevant. It is the drugs, people. I'm going to tell you this right now. Go check out a video called Psychiatry, Industry of Death. It was put out by the Citizens Commission for Human Rights. Go check that out. Okay? I've seen it. I warn you now, the images will be horrific. Okay? But then add that to everything up to this point. I'm going to go to break. So I've passed it up by a minute and a half. So anyway, I'm going to go to break and I'll be right back. Don't go away. We'll get into more. I got a short segment coming up. AmericanLibertyRadio.com. AmericanLibertyRadio@USA.com. That's AmericanLibertyRadio@USA.com. This is the American Liberty Radio Network. Go to AmericanLibertyRadio.com and email us at AmericanLibertyRadio@USA.com.
You are being lied to. All of the state-run media propaganda is deceiving you. The script has been written and the biological androids reading those teleprompters are not telling you everything. From Fast and Furious to Jade Helm 15, the ideological slaves churn out misinformation and the general public, who are not aware enough to understand they are being lied to, eat it up. The mainstream media demonizes those that know the truth, that are said to be conspiracy theorists. They are pushing the narrative of globalization and supporting the principles of a new world order. If the voting populace of the United States of America knew exactly what was happening to them, they would band together to stop the total authoritarian takeover of their country. It is now time for everyone to see what is happening and stand up and defend themselves. It is time for all of the people to accept that they have been living a lie, they have been living a delusion, that their country, their homes, and their property will be taken from them if they do not stand and defend their liberties and freedoms.
This is Wayne S. Pierce. Come join me on American Liberty Radio Live, Wednesdays at 3 p.m. Pacific, 6 p.m. Eastern. AmericanLibertyRadio.com. Hey folks, how you doing? This is the Wayne S. Pierce Show right here on the American Liberty Radio Network. Yes, short segment. Drugs, people. Like Mr. Garrison says on South Park, drugs are bad, okay? Especially when they're dished out by people you seemingly trust. The doctors, the psychiatrists. By the way, did you know psychologists cannot prescribe drugs? They refer you to other people that can. Now, here is a little tidbit of information. We have an overabundance of illegal drugs in this country. Perpetrated and brought into this country by the likes of our own federal government. Have you heard of Fast and Furious? I'm just curious. Now, who is the more deadly of the drug dealers? The ones that are sanctioned by the federal government and funded by taxpayer dollars, or the ones that are funded by the government, funded by taxpayer dollars? You got Operation Fast and Furious and other names like that, bringing the drugs into America, bringing the drugs into the United States. Clear up into Chicago, it's been seen. It's on record. Or Big Pharma. So, I mean, which one is the more deadly of the two? Ones that come in and undercut and make millions, if not billions of dollars on their illicit, illegal trade, or the ones that make billions and billions of dollars on the legal trade of drug distribution in America? Kind of makes you wonder, doesn't it, folks? Hey, go check out AmericanLibertyRadio.com. That's the website. If you're not already there listening, check it out. If you want to support American Liberty Radio Network, you can. Please do, because I'm going to the next level. In the next few months, things are going to be changing once again. Told you at the beginning of the year, or close to it, that things are going to be changing. And they are. And this is one of the final stages of the change that we're making. So if you want us to continue, please contribute if you can. I will make a way for you to do it on the website, but for now, please email me and we'll work something out. Okay? We can do that, can't we? American Liberty Radio at USA.com. American Liberty Radio at USA.com. That's how you contact me. But I want you all to remember that I'm not the only independent alternative media outlet there is. Oh, you got others. But even in the independent alternative media arena, you've got people that are bitching and complaining and pointing fingers and accusing and claiming and all of that. Well, guess what? It's all you, folks. You don't have to believe me. I tell you that all the time. Don't believe me. Go check this stuff out yourself. Glenn Beck says the same thing. Alex Jones says the same thing. Go check this stuff out yourself. Assess what you find and draw your own conclusions on the information presented. It's as simple as that. But I know, because of experience, that people won't do that because they don't want their little self-deluded paradigm shattered into a billion pieces with the truth and the facts. So, But I keep telling you about it. And all I can say is check it out yourself. I'm going to go to break. It's the bottom of the hour. I'll be back. Don't go away. There's a lot more in the next so many minutes. So, talk to you in a bit. American Liberty Radio at USA.com is the email address. Please send me anything you want. Hate mail, too. Also, go to the website if you're not already there. AmericanLibertyRadio.com. That's AmericanLibertyRadio.com. I shall return after this.
This is Frank Hannon. I want to tell you about an exciting brand new rock and roll album coming out this year by guitarist Greg Golden. Greg Golden's new album is some old school sounding rock and roll music that's sure to be a classic, featuring some killer songs, blazing guitar solos, and awesome lead vocals by Jeff Sandoval and Randy Scholes from Montrose. Take a listen to some of these songs on this album. to check out the new Greg Golden album coming out on Red Hawk Records this year. www.greggoldenband.com.
The Grand Adventure. Yeah.
From the directorial debut of Brian James Griffo, two brothers faced with a rare genetic disease that causes blindness decide to take a journey of a lifetime and answer the question, what would you see if you knew you were going to go blind?
It honestly makes me feel so small and like whatever problems I have are nothing.
What would you do?
You're supposed to smell it first.
Who would you meet?
This is an opportunity for us to connect with people.
Oh, I can see you forever.
In a groundbreaking documentary that cuts to the heart of what it means to be a brother.
It blows my mind that 100 years ago, this is how people would have done this trip that we're doing. Yep.
And gain a world of vision while losing eyesight. Come along to be inspired and reminded of the very meaning of life through a 12,000-mile road trip. Driving Blind. Coming soon.
Coming to America.
This is the American Liberty Radio Network. Go to AmericanLibertyRadio.com and email us at AmericanLibertyRadio@USA.com. The only choice for all your independent hits on the internet. Radio Rock 92.6 The Blitz. Go to RadioRockTheBlitz.blogspot.com. Sharing the truth one fact at a time, without all the BS. This is the American Liberty Radio Network. Hey folks, welcome back. I'm going to forego this next coming break because I got a lot to share with you. So let's get on with it, shall we? Let's go with, I'm going to stay at InfoWars because they have a couple of they have a few really good articles. And I'm going to say this. That the mass media, the state-run media, the paradigm of what is true in America. Yeah, I threw up in my mouth a little bit on that one. The mainstream media doesn't know what they're talking about. They never have and they never will. They're bought and paid for just like the political candidates. The pharmaceutical companies and lawyers and all of that, if you watch any number of these political pundits or on TV, on these various cable news networks, you will find that a majority of their sponsors are either attorneys, either personal injury or anything to do with pharmaceuticals, or the pharmaceutical companies in various fashions. Well, that's a conflict of interest. I mean, you can't have a lawyer suing a company that... It's all about supporting a narrative to where the mainstream media can sensationalize anything that is tragic to, well, come down on you and your liberties and your rights as an individual. That's the bottom line. And that's what it is. Tony Cartolucci over at contributed a story to Infowars.com. And you can go also, the story is over at landdestroyer.blogspot.co.uk. I'll put this article up on the American Liberty Radio Network Facebook page as I am talking. So that way, you can just click on the links there in the article for your enjoyment. And let me tell you, the headline reads, mass shooting, mass hysteria, mass propaganda. Drunk driving kills 20 times more per year than mass shootings have in 30 years. Tony Cartolucci, Land Destroyer. Click on Land Destroyer in the article right at the top. You'll go to his website. 9 lives were ended in a tragic mass shooting at a historic church in Charleston, South Carolina, perpetrated by a deranged, apparently brainwashed 21-year-old man whose motivations appear to be centered around extreme racism. Let me take a drink of coffee before I get into this, shall I? I'll preface the rest of it with this. I am not racist. I have friends of every race, creed, and religion that you can think of, and guess what? We all can get along and buy each other lunch and have fun and enjoy the day. Continuing with the article. In the immediate aftermath of the shooting, a familiar, shameful charade of exploitation unfolded yet again, seeking to reassert the quote-unquote gun control agenda amid both national public opinion and across America's legislative bodies. In other words, that's short for saying the narrative is such to where the outcome is they are coming after your guns, period. And guess who's going to be the enforcers in all of this, folks? Yes, that's right. The United Nations. Continuing, yet the engineered, concerted, deceitful propaganda campaign launched by the corporate media and the America's political circles fails to put into perspective the recent shooting and a greater quote-unquote gun control debate. Instead, a mad rush has ensued to exploit anger, sorrow, and fear to once again attempt to snatch from responsible Americans their right to bear arms based on the criminal action of a single individual. Drunk driving kills 20 times more per year than mass shootings have in the last 30. The Washington Post, along with other mainstays of Western propaganda, have repeatedly summed up the history of mass shootings and gun violence in articles following in the wake of the violent episodes. Usually, these statistics are presented in a vacuum without reference intentionally to deceive the reader. In their most recent article, quote, 11 essential facts about guns and mass shootings in the United States, unquote, they claim that in the past 30 years, 574 people have been killed in mass shootings. While in their article they attempt to make this number sound enormous, to put it into perspective, the U.S. Center for Disease Control, CDC, reports that in the year of 2013 alone, there were 10,976 were killed by drunk drivers. That is about 20 times more people killed in a single year due to drunk driving than in the past 30 years due to mass shootings. Mass shootings being defined as 3 people or more killed in a single spree. The Post, amid its disingenuous spin claims, quote, in this post, adapted from previous versions that we released after mass shootings in the past, we explore America's unique role among advanced countries as a place where support for guns is widespread and violence involving firearms is equally widespread. There are some perhaps surprising findings. Gun ownership in the United States is declining overall, for instance, but despite mass shootings, which have occurred with increasing frequency in recent years, support for gun rights is still resolute in America, unquote. Essentially, the Washington Post argues throughout its article that gun ownership is increasingly unpopular and primary cause of higher levels of violence other than industrialized nations, and that mass shootings are a major problem. Yet clearly, when placed alongside other senseless causes of death, mass shootings, while clearly better at grabbing headlines, are also clearly not our greatest challenge. Violence in America is caused by socioeconomic factors, not guns. America has guns. America is a violent country. Guns cause violence. This is perhaps the most elementarily absurd argument imaginable, yet it is, in fact, the cornerstone of the gun control agenda. Yet, when we examine violence and access to legal acquired weaponry, there is little correlation. UN's 2011 homicide study, PDF available on the link there on the website. When comparing two nations, the United Kingdom and Japan, whose populations are for all intents and purposes, quote-unquote, disarmed, we still find immense, seemingly inexplicable disparity in the number of homicides, despite both nations being disarmed and have almost, quote, no gun-related homicides, unquote. According to UN statistics, Japan and the UK still have an astronomical gap in homicide rates. Why? A visit to either country reveals an entirely different culture, education system, infrastructure, and socio-economic paradigm. This is why, despite Japan having a much larger population, even total homicides are lower than the comparatively more violent but less populated United Kingdom, with homicide rates in the UK nearly 3 times higher than those in Japan. According to the UN study, these include the most recent annual data available. Japan, with the population of roughly 130 million, had a mere 506 homicides over the stretch of a single year. Conversely, the UK, with less than half of Japan's population, 53 million, had 722 homicides. Rates per 100,000 people for Japan and the UK are 0.4 and 1.2% respectively. The UK, despite being an unarmed population and having virtually no gun violence, still has 3 times higher murder rate than the nation of Japan. Those that are murdered in the UK or Japan are just as dead as any human being murdered by a gun in the United States. And clearly this indicates that the presence of guns or their banning is not a significant factor driving homicides and violence. The United States suffers from more poverty, more disparity in income, more blight, and stagnation across its economy and education system, particularly in the inner city and the South, than even the UK. This is why the United States is more violent than other industrialized nations, not because of the availability of weapons. And despite the fact that the United States has both more guns and more violence than other industrialized nations, it is still a relatively less violent nation than many others in the developing world, including nations that have far fewer guns per capita. Okay, that whole article, I'm going to read the rest of it. I got time. Gun control is about dominating lives, not saving them. The inconvenient reality regarding the true nature of violence and its relationship with guns is entirely sidestepped by the gun control agenda, primarily because the gun control agenda is about disarming the American public, thus removing an obstacle toward totalitarianism, not to preserve innocent lives. This fact is highlighted best by incessant calls to ban semi-automatic rifles termed quote-unquote assault rifles by the media. Yet despite their vilification, quote-unquote assault rifles account for at least number of deaths per year to gun violence. In fact, according to FBI's own statistics, rifles of any kind, including assault rifles, account for fewer deaths per year than murders involving bare hands and feet. Well, let's ban bare hands and feet, shall we? Clubs are also used more frequently in homicides in the United States than rifles of any kind, including assault rifles. The obsession with banning the least dangerous of all firearms, but also firearms best suited for the defense during civil disorder, as well as a check against tyrannical government, exposes the gun control agenda for precisely what it is. The tragedy in Charleston is a tragedy indeed. Gun violence, along with other forms of violence and irresponsible behavior, are problems society must deal with, but not at the expense of the rights of responsible, free citizens. This includes drunk driving, by far a more pressing issue than mass shootings, yet it too must be solved without infringing upon the rights of grown adults who are capable of responsibly consuming alcohol. Remember the ban of alcohol back in the 20s and 30s? Yeah, it didn't work out, did it? Made Al Capone a lot of money. Made a lot of people a lot of money back then. Those, continuing on with the article here at Infowars.com, those who take up social crusades by preying on people's emotions and hovering over tragedy like, carrion eating bird, vultures, in an attempt to collectively punish the rest of society for the ill will and deeds of a single individual, represent a much greater threat to our way of life than any deranged shooter. This is because such people distract our collective attention away from solving the socioeconomic and cultural factors that will continue to drive violence with or without the presence of firearms in society, depriving us of our rights and liberty, all while inviting future tragedies to unfold. Racists will still devise ways to kill people they deem as quote-unquote undesirable. To defeat racism, we must deal with it directly, not attempt to deprive it of every possible avenue toward violence. In other words, folks, we're all human beings. Bill Nye that's that guy. Bill Nye, the science guy, talked about how we are of one race, one group of people, but race was deciding, what was basically became what it is because of the different areas we live in around the world. The pigments of our skin changed in certain areas of the world. By the way, you can go look this up. I'm not a scientist. I'm not, supporting Bill Nye's theory on this or anything. I'm just saying that this has that particular narrative of race and how different areas of the world created different races is out there. Is it true? I don't know. You go figure that one out. Continuing with this last paragraph. At the end of the day, killing another human being with a firearm is already quite illegal. To prevent people intent on doing so, to prevent people intent on doing so regardless of the law, in other words, killing others regardless of what the law says, we must target the root cause of their homicidal intent. Those who understand this best also so happen to be those who stand the most from exploiting continued violence and using it as a pretext to further diminish the rights and power of American people. It is up to the gun owners to both act as ambassadors for responsible firearm ownership as well as serve as the vanguards in their local community against the root causes of violence used as a pretext to strip Americans of their rights. Shall I go on? Shall I make it a point to direct your attention to the fact that we all have the same red blood cells in us, actually blue, but we are human beings. We walk, we talk, we go to work, we take care of our families. Doesn't matter what color we are. And this whole bull crap about, Black Lives Matter. No. Let me just state it for the record right now. All lives matter. Doesn't matter what color you are. Doesn't matter what religion you are. If somebody's trying to kill you, you have the God-given right to defend yourself. And if some whacked out 21-year-old on some psychotropic drug is out there, taking his unreasonable thought of racism to the extreme and going and killing people, he's got a problem. But you have to find the root of that problem. What's the root of racism? You got to find that and rid the world and the narrative of that. Okay? I know Christians right now, people that claim to be Christian right now, who say, yeah, anybody can come to our church. But if it's a black family, if it's an Indian family, if it's East Indian, not Native, even then, if it's anybody else other than middle-class, heterosexual, white folk, you ain't getting in the doors of the church. I know pastors like that. And I'm ashamed. But I also know churches that have a plethora of different people in there. Of all races and walks of life. That's a church I go to. Or would if I was still living in California. Because we're all human beings, folks. Doesn't matter if you live in the Netherlands, if you live in Pakistan, if you live in Mexico, if you live in, Australia. It doesn't matter. We're all human beings, and we have to knock this stuff off. Is it ever going to end? No. That's like me complaining when I go. I live in the biggest little city in the world, Reno, Nevada, and there's casinos all over the place. It's like me going into casinos and complaining that smokers should be banned from all casinos. Smoking should be banned in all casinos. Is that ever going to happen? No. Why? Lobbyists, special interest groups, smokers that are going to be all pissed off that non-smokers like me, are there rattling their cages and rattling their sabers and stuff like that, saying we need to get rid of all these. Well, my ideal, the ideal answer to all of this, to the smoking in casinos, as I see it, is for the tobacco companies to spend the billions and billions of dollars they make off of these smokers and go out into a large area of land. We're talking half-mile, 2 miles, 10-mile square area, and just build all kinds of casinos where smokers can go and smoke up a storm and have stores and have whatever so that they can work to support their habit. That would be the ideal answer, wouldn't it? Well, in a in a Shangri-La utopian world, that would be great. But it's not going to happen because we have, in every narrative, in every situation, in every circumstance, we will have opposition. And everybody that is opposing each other will always say they have the answers that will work for everyone. Let me remind people of this. One size does not fit all. So let me expand that. One type of government does not fit all. You know what fits in America right now? In the United States specifically. Here's what fits. Free people deciding for themselves what to do, when to do it, why to do it, and how to do it for their own lives. And if they want to smoke and drink and do drugs and kill themselves in the short or long term, they have a right to do that. I think Portugal banned a lot of stuff. But then they found out it didn't work. So what did they do? They legalized all drugs. I think it was Portugal. Go look this up for me. Thank you. And they legalized all drugs. They took it from a criminal aspect to a healthcare aspect. Guess what? Drug use went down dramatically. Violence went down dramatically. Everything changed. And guess what? They're working it out. Oh, and by the way, let me go into this socioeconomic. That's the word. Socioeconomic. Take a page out of the Book of Iceland. They jailed all their bankers. They kicked out the EU. They changed their constitution. And guess what? Now, after I don't know how many years, they are doing quite well and prospering. Can we do that in the United States? No, because the rest of the world wants the United States to be destroyed from within and be turned into a third world nation, into what is known as the North American Union. Yeah. So think about that one, folks. And think about how you treat other people regardless of what color they are. That's just something you need to think about. And if you've grown up in a society that treats, that gives you that narrative of that person's different, you must hate them, then you are the one with the problem. Okay? I'm just saying. I'm just putting it out there. It's there on the table. You debate it. You talk about it. You send me information. Tell me what you think. American Liberty Radio at USA.com. American Liberty Radio at USA.com. I want to hear from you, seriously. American Liberty Radio at USA.com. Go to the website if you're not already there. AmericanLibertyRadio.com. Check that out as well. And if you want to support American Liberty Radio Network, you can. Just email me. And we'll work something out. American Liberty Radio at USA.com. Hey, folks, I got to get out of here. It's the end of the week. And, hey, have a great one. Have a great day. Enjoy your weekend. I'll talk to you later. American Liberty Radio Live, Wednesdays at 3 p.m. Pacific, 6 Eastern, right here on the American Liberty Radio Network. Liberty is the road, and freedom is the goal.